Hi, my name is Tracy Harrison. I'm a visual artist and an art therapist, and today I'm going to introduce you to the art form of making Zentangles. Zentangles are spelled Z-E-N-T-A-N-G-L-E-S if you want to look them up on the internet. And I'll be listing a list of materials to use, and that list will be below this video for you to refer to. Zentangles will take you approximately 30 minutes to do a very simple one, all the way up to 3 hours or more for more complex ones where you're doing very detailed and complex forms. This one took me about 40 minutes to do. And if you're adding color, then it's going to take you even longer. The materials that you can use for color are watercolors, because we're using black permanent markers. You can use crayons, colored pencils, pastels, pastel pencils, lots of different options, markers. And the materials that we're going to use just to draw the Zentangle are bond paper. Cardstock is another word for it. It's great. It's flat, so your marker doesn't go on little bumps. It doesn't kind of get stuck when you're moving it across the paper. It's thick so that it will absorb the markers that you're going to be using. And those markers are a thick marker and a thin marker. The thin marker is about a 0.5, and you can get thinner if you want to get into really small, intricate designs. But for the basic Zentangle, those two will work. A pencil for drawing your Zentangle ahead of time, an eraser for erasing off your pencil lines once you get all your black lines on and you're ready to color. Or, if you want to change up the shape of your original image. And then a kneaded eraser to get into those little corners if you need to. I also have handy a pencil sharpener, just in case I need to sharpen up my pencil, because sometimes you're drawing a lot. So we're going to start off with, first off, talking about basic Zentangles and more complex ones. I'm going to start with the more complex ones. So here's a complex one, and ages 8 or up could create this Zentangle. Some of the patterns are a bit complex, but you can change them and adjust them to what you would like to do. There are some Zentangle possibilities for younger folks too, and I'll speak to that a little bit at the end of showing you these different ones. So you can see quite a few different patterns and some complex, and you can see where the thicker black marker is used and the thinner marker is used on these different images. I like this one because you find elephants in East India, and there are these beautiful designs that come from East Indian tiles and jewelry, fabrics, buildings. So it's really nice sometimes to create a thematic look. And then here we have a really simple image of cats that have nice waving kinds of lines that create movement in the image itself. Here's a real simple little one for a younger person. Just a very simple frog, a few lines, and a few patterns that are easy to make. This is also a fairly easy one to make, where you just create a circle in the center. You can color it in to look like a sun, and then you're doing wavy patterns out. And you can create those waves to be much bigger than they are here, so that a little person can handle making the bigger lines through it. I like this pattern here for the musical person in the family. And then another simple way to go about it is to take your hand and trace around it, and from there you can create a Zentangle. Now here they've done a different thing. They've gone into images inside of the Zentangle as opposed to separate patterns. I'm going to explain to you how I created this hummingbird. Oh, but first I want to share with you some patterns. You can get these on the internet, different types of Zentangle patterns, or you can stop the video and screenshot these so that you have a few patterns to refer to, and it can be really helpful. Some of them even have names to them. It can be really helpful to have a set of patterns by your side so that when you are working out what you're going to fill in those spaces in your image, you've got some to look towards, and also it helps you to learn new patterns. This is a image of a complex pattern building up to the final pattern. So it starts with a teardrop shape, and then those shapes are added along a line, and then little round circles are drawn, and then just a dot and a line on the leaves create the more complex patterns. So more complex patterns are almost like patterns within patterns. All right, here we go. Looking at this hummingbird, and we'll examine how to create that hummingbird step by step. And like I was saying, it'll take you about 40 minutes to do this, depending on the images, patterns that you put inside the different sections and how quickly you draw. So I started off with a blank piece of paper. Then I drew my hummingbird with a pencil, and I started to draw the wings so that they actually had the sections coming out as I'm drawing the wings. Rather than just draw the full shape, I actually drew it so that it had its sections. I also drew the tail so that it was a full section and easy to create lines, to create other sections within the hummingbird. Also, I drew the eye and I created a section around that. Then I came in with my pencil and drew a line down here which created a section for the underbelly of the bird from the chest down to the tail. I drew in my hearts and I continued those lines, creating sections in the tail. And then I came across here and created waves. And then I decided to go a different direction with the sections that really took the eye down towards the tip of the tail. And then I came in with my black marker and I started to emphasize the areas and draw the areas that I wanted to use the thicker marker for, and I wanted to stand out in the image at the end. So when you look at the final image, you can see how using the dark heavy marker really makes the wings, the beak, the tail line and the tail stand out on this hummingbird. So I used my thick marker for those lines, and then I started to come in with my thin marker on my other sections, and I would continue along like this, highlighting all those. That would then take me to starting to put my patterns inside. So I wanted to put patterns around the top of the head that were like feathers, small head feathers. And then I also wanted to do that in the underbelly. And then I got a lot more fun and playful with the other images here. You can see that this is colored in. So originally it's a hollow kind of space, and then I came along with a kind of a wavy line, and then I just filled that wavy line in, and then that brought out the triangles. And I replicated what I did up here on the second wing so that they had the same kind of designs in them. I have some very simple designs, for example, in here with the dots, and then I have some more complex ones that I built up as we saw when I broke down that other complex design. So there you have it. There's a Zentangle, and below this video will be a list of all of the materials that we use: the big marker, the thick marker, the thin marker, the paper, the pencil, the eraser, and the steps where you create the image, you create the sections, and then you fill in your patterns. So happily Zentangling.